Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode 153. This is an encore presentation of an episode that was recorded 5 years ago. Chris and I thought we should revisit some of our most memorable episodes that you may have missed. This conversation with Wendy Rivard is definitely inspiring. Let's go to the episode.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast. Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jill. Welcome to our podcast for the Becoming Ellie community, where we focus on fitness, health, and food for women over 50.
During many of our podcasts, we talk with women who inspire us with new ideas, challenges, and motivation.
Before we go to today's interview, if you're new to our podcast, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back too. You might be wondering why this community is called Becoming Ellie.
Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging, who, when challenged to a wrestling match with Thor, surprised everyone by winning.
Chris and I decided that we wanted to be fit and strong too, just like Ellie, as we continue in the second half of our lives.
We have created a website, becomingellie.com, with over 170 free articles to help you in your quest to be fit and healthy. You can also visit the website and support our podcast by purchasing our helpful fitness food ebook or the Becoming Ellie sweatshirt.
We also have a private Facebook group where you can connect with our community. You can also find us on Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram.
Today, we are talking with Wendy Rivard, who is a runner, yoga enthusiast, and cross trainer.
Some of you may recognize Wendy by her blog title, Taking the Long Way Home. During today's podcast, we talk about how she trains as an older athlete and avoids injury, as well as stays motivated while dealing with a busy schedule, and more recently, her diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis.
Nothing seems to stop her. I've followed her blog for several years, and I really admire her and wanted to hear more about how she was able to keep things going in the face of some of these challenges.
Let's go to the podcast. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi.
Gee, really appreciate you doing this, Wendy. I'm looking forward to talking to you and getting to know you a little bit better.
I'm honored that you asked me, so.
Well, I just think of all of the different folks that, the different blogs that I read, and yours is definitely one of the most inspirational.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
And you reach out to people all the time. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it's been fun. It didn't start out this way, but, it's just the way I like to write.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe just because I'm a nurse practitioner, I'm more like a touchy kind of person, and get to know people and stuff like that. So
yeah. So we're so glad that you're taking some time to talk with our listeners. And I feel like I know you, but this is the first time we've actually really talked. I'm wondering, can you give us just a little bit of your background? I know you live in Chicago and you have a family and a job. Can you just explain a little bit?
Sure. I'm a married mother of 2 grown boys, and one of them's attending the University of Wisconsin. Go Badgers. And in my real life off the road, I work as a pediatric nurse practitioner for a large medical group in Chicago. I have been a runner for most of my adult life, and I write about it on the blog, but the reasons for running have changed over the years. In my 20s, I suffered from terrible anxiety and panic attacks. And as a way to avoid taking medications, I started working out, and that morphed into running. I've been afraid to stop, even though I've definitely worked through that and overcome that. In my 30s, I dealt with infertility, so running helped me manage all the stress of that. In my 40s, I went back to grad school to be a nurse practitioner. And now in my 50s, it's just old age, I guess, and wanted to keep going.
Oh, that's cool.
You went back to grad school in your 40s. I'm always impressed by people who decide to do that.
Well, it was, I've been a nurse forever, and I wanted to be a nurse practitioner always. And I did in my 20s. I was struggling with all that anxiety, and I was in school then. But I dropped the dream while tried to grow up and manage my symptoms. And then when the boys were in grade school, I decided that it's funny how things fall into place, right? And the opportunity presented itself for me to be able to do this, and it worked out great. And, it's the job that I'm supposed to be in. I love what I do, so it's a good thing.
That's wonderful. So your blog, Taking the Long Way Home, is very inspirational. For the listeners who are not familiar with your blog, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I started reading blogs probably about 10 years ago, running blogs. I met a couple friends, through the blogs, and I started seeing what people were writing, and I thought, well, maybe I have a story to tell too. And so when I look back on my early posts, they were pretty simple and basic. I don't delete them from the blog because that's just, it's part of my story. And then over the years, especially the last 2 years, when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 2 years ago, my focus changed and I started writing more for me. And although I did I guess before that, I struggled with some, raising teenage boys. And while I didn't go into specifics because I want to protect their privacy, I did write about struggling and the challenges and how running and working out helped me through that. So it's basically my journey, I guess.
So you've been one of the more frequent commenters on Becoming Ellie, and it's obvious that community is important to you. What's your philosophy about blogging and sharing online and building a community?
As far as just...
Well, I know you've done all those link ups and things like that. It just seems like you've really gone beyond.
Well, I just love the running community. For the most part, it's a very supportive community. I have met a lot of friends through my blog. And before I started blogging, I would just go to races by myself. And, you'd see other people there, like groups of women and just having a good time. And it was always, felt kind of lonely. And then I started meeting up with runners, even locally. Now I can go to a local race and I usually see somebody I know. And that's been really, really fun for me. It's been really empowering to have, reached people and they're like, oh, are you Wendy from Taking the Long Way Home? Like people will come up to me. And I know it's weird, right? And
you're famous.
Well, no, but when we bloggers talk about people or we introduce, we're like, oh, this is Holly Ho Ho Runs, or this is Marsha's Healthy Slice. And we introduce each other by their blog names, or we talk about people by their blog names. It's just kind of funny.
Right. Like, this is Jill from Becoming Ellie.
It is. That's what we do. It's some people, like poor Holly, who writes Ho Ho Runs, people don't even call her Holly. They call her Ho Ho.
Right. Oh, right. Because that's her grandmother name or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's her grandma name. But it's just funny because, I'm like, no, it's Holly, but it's just funny.
Right.
So I used to, when I first started running, I went to my races alone. I went by myself and I remember my very first run, a girlfriend came, she said, I don't think you should have to be here by yourself. So she did nothing but stand there while I ran the race and held my jacket, which was very nice of her.
Gosh, that's really nice.
Yeah. But I used to go, and you're right. Now that once you start knowing people who run,
right,
there's always someone that you run into, or even if you decide to go by yourself, I usually run into somebody I know.
Yeah.
It's nice. I think the other thing is our families and friends don't always understand our passion for running. And it's nice to have a group that gets it, where we can talk about running ad nauseum, and they're right there with us. But, when I talk to my sisters, they glaze over, so.
Right. Have you always been an athlete?
No, it's the funny thing. I used to hate running. And although as a kid, I grew up in rural northwestern Illinois, and we were outside all the time. We rode bikes. I mean, we played. And so I guess I was an athlete in the child sense of the word, but I never did sports. I never thought I was good at it. So no, it just started in my 20s.
So obviously running is your passion, but you do other types of things for either for cross training or because you like them. But what all do you do?
Well, I've been doing yoga almost as long as I've been running, and I love yoga. I'm not very good at it, but it makes me feel good. And so I've always done that. I work out once a week at a CrossFit gym, box, whatever they call it.
Right.
I never consider myself a CrossFitter, but I have done strength training with a coach there for the last 5 years, and I do the boot camps now, 1 or 2 a week, which are an absolute blast, and that's allowed me to cut back on the amount of miles I'm running. It's preserved my ability to keep going the distance, so that's been a lot of fun. I love anything on the water. I love to water ski. I can still slalom. I can still get up on one ski, which is how Holly and I actually became friends because we both do that. I also love to kayak. I love stand-up paddle boarding. I basically love anything to be on the water.
Nice.
That's right. You're really very versatile when it comes to all the different sports and things that you do. And then, you already mentioned that, but a couple years ago when you were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, you have a terrific attitude about it, but it's certainly has affected, I'm sure it's affected your workouts and can you talk a little bit about it, your running schedule or?
Yeah. So I did finally cut back to 3 days a week because I have a lot of knee pain, which is so ironic because, everyone always says running's going to ruin people's knees. And, the research shows that that's absolutely not true and that runners have less osteoarthritis than the general population. But the running, it's not that the running hurts my knees, it's arthritis. And I always say that running doesn't ruin your joints. Arthritis ruins your joints. For the first time in my life, I have a lot of knee pain. It wakes me up in the middle of the night. I end up taking a lot of more ibuprofen than I ever wanted to. So by cutting back on the running and focusing more on strength and yoga that supports the muscles around the joints, that has helped a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, I just refuse to let this disease defeat me. I put a positive front on the blog, but I have plenty of times at home where I'm pretty down and out because I think I hate that I have it. I hate that. I just I don't think it's fair, but it is what it is. And it could be worse. It could be cancer. It could,
Sure.
So, and it's just something I'm learning to live with.
No matter how bad you have it, there's always somebody who's worse. I don't know that that's a very inspiring thought, but
No, but it's well, you can't feel sorry. You could feel sorry for yourself, but I'm still getting out there and I'm still doing it. And that's a good thing. So as long as I can keep going, I'm good.
So the going to boot camp once or twice a week, this is something I've been mulling over recently because last fall I was just pretty much doing just running and I ended up messed up my back or whatever. At any rate, I've spent months dealing with it and I'm now finally able to start working out again and I am definitely back to doing my strength training and I got yoga back into the schedule and really is much better for your body, I think, to be doing a variety of things, a variety of different kinds of stresses on it.
I totally agree with that. I think, especially for older athletes, it's more important to cross train. And even when I trained to run my marathons, I never did high miles. I mean, my highest mileage for marathon training was 38 miles a week. I did a lot of cross training. We did, like boot camp type workouts at CrossFit. And my coach who trained me was my CrossFit coach. I didn't use a running coach.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, how old was I? 52 or 53. I PR'd the Chicago Marathon at 4:17. So
I know. Yeah. I saw that on one of your links. I was like, wow, very impressive. My gosh.
And that was a low mileage training plan. So I think it's really important. And that proved to me the importance of mixing it up as an older athlete because when I trained for the first Chicago Marathon, and you saw my time was 5:25. I was devastated, but I broke my body down by running high miles and not cross training. So lesson learned.
Yeah. It's a really important one. I think you're absolutely right that as we age, it becomes even more so. You can get away with a lot of things when you're in your 20s that you just can't. You just can't.
20s, 30s, 40s.
You just can't continue to do it, you know.
Right.
It's the truth. It is. I mean, it's your body's so much more forgiving when you're younger. You can drink too much. You can eat really bad food.
That's true. You don't have to sleep as much. And, you know, I am so resistant to blaming things on my age, but
It's true.
But, because it irks me. You know, even I went to a Pilates class. So there was a young woman and me. There were two people in the class, and she said, well, you know, people our age have a lot more issues, and she's young, so she can do this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
Wait a minute.
No.
That's not me. So that irks me. But I do think we do need more sleep and more attention to things.
Well, over the years, I think it's likely that one or more injuries have occurred, at least in my body. That's where I have the base of my problems is, you know, I had a really bad ankle injury, or anyone that's been in a car accident and had to recover from that, you know, damages a little bit. You really have to be more cognizant of it. And I think that your comments about yoga and cross training, strength training, all of that really helps. Really helps.
The other thing I've started doing is getting monthly therapeutic massage. Last month, it was New Year's Eve, I was doing a boot camp workout, and I lifted something funny, and I popped my sacroiliac joint out, and that was so painful. And I was so upset. I'm like, come on, I can't be hurt. There's a physical therapist in the class, and she put the joint back in, and then she gave me exercises to do. And then I went to the massage therapist I've been seeing, who's amazing. And I'm telling you, going once a month, I mean, I wish I could afford to go more, but I feel really great because she makes everything, she breaks up all this tissues and all, I don't know what she does, but I'm bruised and sore
fascia.
when I leave. Yeah, the fascia. And I have like bruises, and the next day I have to rest, but then by the second day I feel like $1,000,000. Right. I recommend recovery too, like those kind of things.
Well, I think it keeps the ligaments and tendons more pliable doing massages. I really do.
I do. I mean, that book I reviewed, Good to Go, the science does not support any recovery stuff, but I'm telling you, I think if it feels good, you should do it.
Well, I think sometimes people think of recovery as just, all right, I'm going to take a day and do nothing but lie on the couch. And if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But recovery can also just be, I think I'll go for a nice walk in the park.
I agree.
And, you know, so we tend to not necessarily think of that as being recovery, but to me, that's a really good recovery. I also we have a ortho massage person in the area who I have gone to, and I agree with you on that too. It is amazing. It's very different than a relaxation massage, but
yes, it is.
Downright painful.
Yeah, it can be.
Begging for mercy. You're like, can you just give me a break?
Really? You're going to do that?
Like, then she goes to another area, and then she's like, I'm sorry, I have to finish that area. And you're like, no.
Yeah, they keep that pressure on until the muscle actually relaxes, which it can take a little while for me anyway.
Me too. But then when you're done, you're like, oh my God, I feel like Jell-O. This is great.
Right. Yeah. And they say drink a lot of water and flush all the toxins out.
They do. So
why don't you tell us a little bit about your marathon and half marathon adventures? I know you've done a lot of those.
Well, the most recent one is probably going to go down as one of my favorite is the Mobile, Alabama, the half marathon I ran in January. I don't know if either of you have ever been to Mobile, but I'm like completely enamored by the Deep South. I mean, it's all the antebellum homes. It's just charming. And it's actually the original Mardi Gras took place in Mobile, and they have their own little Mardi Gras. So I went with Holly and Teresa, who used to have a blog. She's another one of, woman in her 50s who's just truly amazing. And then Karen, who's another blogger that we know. And we had so much fun. And then the race itself, I mean, it was so well organized, and you're running through all these beautiful neighborhoods with those, the live oaks with the moss hanging down over the streets. And the finish line had the Azalea Trail Maids, and they are society, like charity organization. It's a big deal down there. And they were wearing those, Southern belle dresses. And I have never crossed a finish line. Like they're waiting there for you. There's 6 of them lining the chute.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just
in the hoop skirts and everything.
Yeah. And at the finish line, they had a Dixieland jazz band, and they had red beans and rice. And it was totally, it was totally Southern. That was a really great experience.
So that was your favorite half marathon?
Well, I think right now I would have to say it's up there with another favorite that I love is in northern Wisconsin. It's the Door County Half Marathon. I grew up spending my summers up there. My parents have a vacation home, and it's on Green Bay. And it's very, very hilly up there. And that was my first half marathon I ever ran in 2010. I went back there last year, or was it last year? 2 years ago. And Holly came up from Alabama and ran it with me. She had to come from the farthest to run it. She had to fly to Milwaukee, and then I drove her up there. And then, just Wisconsin, and she got to have walleye for the first time. And we drank Spotted Cow, which is like a cult beer that you could only get in Wisconsin. And it was just really fun.
Are half marathons your favorite distance?
Yes and no. I loved running the marathons. I ran, my bucket list was Big Sur. I ran the Big Sur Marathon, and I've run Chicago 3 times, and I like that distance. But the half is so doable, you can always sign up for one at the last minute if you keep if you do a couple long runs before, you can. I actually am going to Florida next week, and although I haven't been running a lot, I'm considering doing a half down there, but I probably won't know until like the week before if I'm going to do it or not. So yeah, I guess that is my favorite distance.
So you sort of do destination races. You pick a place that you want to go and then go?
I like to do those. They're a lot of fun. But there's a lot of local races in Chicago that I do over and over again too. So I like a mix.
Do you prefer hills or flat?
Oh gosh, no hills. I'm a flat.
Well, you said something about Wisconsin hills, so.
No, I'm a flatlander. Illinois is flat as can be, and I'm good with that. So that's why when we were deciding on the January half, I said, no, I want Mobile because it's flat. So.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. And what about temperatures? Is there a certain temperature that you prefer?
I like it cold when it's when I'm running a race. So, 40s and 50s are perfect for me. I don't necessarily like that any other time, but for running, that's when I have my best running. I feel the best.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what do you usually wear when you race? Do you have like a certain outfit that you wear or a certain style?
Well, I love my Ink and Burn. That's a running company out of California that I used to be an ambassador for. And they have that really bright, artsy kind of gear. So I do like to wear their gear when I race because it's unique. And it's called Ink and Burn. It's INKBURN. Whenever I wear it, people always come up to me. I get compliments and they ask me what the brand is because the stuff's so fun. And it's also very functional. Like their skirts have... On the shorts, under the skirts, they've got pockets, so you can stash stuff in there. And
that's nice.
Yeah, I love their gear.
So what is a typical week for working out for you? You sort of started that with talking about the CrossFit, but can you give us an outline of your training schedule?
Sure. So I usually run 3 days a week. During the week, I start late on Mondays and Wednesdays, so I run those mornings. And I like to do between 4 and 6 miles on those days. And then on the weekends, I like to do a longer run, depending if I'm recovering or training, usually between 6 and 10 miles. And then I work out at CrossFit on Thursdays. I do strength training for a half hour, and then I do the boot camp. I've been going to boot camp on Fridays after work too, which has been really fun. And then I try to squeeze yoga in there somewhere. Haven't been as good about that lately, but I need to get back to that. So usually once a week I'll do that.
Do you follow any particular running training plans?
I don't, which is kind of bad, right? So when I've never followed a training plan for any distance except marathon. I think anybody who runs a marathon should pay for a coach to write a personalized training plan, even if it's like a coach on, a blogger who coaches, because that's such a distance. It's a monster. It's a beast. You need to have a plan. But for a half, I really believe if you are an experienced runner and you've been running 3 to 4 days a week, around like 20 miles a week, you should be able to run a half without a problem, without a training plan. I know plenty of people would disagree with me on that.
Well, yeah. Your goal is to sort of be half marathon ready.
Definitely. And I would say that most of the time I am.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's really great because I work up to be half marathon prepared. I mean, my goal is to be 10K ready, but right now I'm not even sure I'm 5K ready.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's been winter,
Well,
yeah,
the body remembers,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I won't lie and tell you that I think I'm ready to run a half next week, because I ran 6 half marathons in the past 12 months. So,
That's
which
a
is
lot.
it's the most I've ever done. And so I took February off. It was my probably lowest mileage month ever since injury,
Uh-huh.
I think I ran like 38 miles in February. So I've been ramping my miles back up. We'll see.
I know a few years ago, Chris and I were on a relay team.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And 2 people ended up having to drop off our relay team a week before the race. And we were scrounging around finding people. We ended up finding 2 people who said, sure, they could do it. And Chris and I both vowed, okay, we want to be the people that at the last minute can just fill in on someone's relay team and run the 5 or 6 miles without even thinking about it.
Right.
We just decided that we wanted to be relay team ready.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
I did my first ever relay in January. I did the Pettit Indoor Marathon Relay with my running club. There was a team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. Indoor is different, isn't it?
I've never done that before, but I've never done a relay ever. So I liked it because you'd run 800 meters and then you were done until it was your turn again. So.
Oh, that was a different kind of relay.
Oh, yeah, that's different. So this was on a marathon, and so the first person would run, 5.5 miles, and then the second person, you would meet up with the second person, and then they would run another 5 miles, and you just work your way through the team until you completed the marathon.
Yeah, the cool thing about your indoor relay, Wendy, is that it's indoor, and so your teammates can be right there to cheer you on, and you're right there together, which is the hard part when you're on a marathon course and you're all spread apart. You just see when you pass the baton, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, this was it was so much fun. But I would like to do a marathon relay on a road race. I've never done it. I don't want to do a Ragnar because I need my sleep.
Me too. I'm with you.
Seriously, I just feel like our ship has sailed.
Yeah, sleep is too precious.
Well, I think I would lose all my friends. I'd probably be such a crab, whining and complaining. This is terrible.
Yeah, if I got to pick when I would be running, I could do the early 6 a.m. kind of shift, but anything I don't know who's going to run in the middle of the night. I don't know about that.
Well, it's funny because I've been asked multiple times and I'm like, I just don't know if it's a good idea. I went out a couple weeks ago with the nurse I work with. Her boyfriend's in a band and it's like a heavy metal band. Don't ask, but I promised her I would go. And she's like, well, they go on at 11. And I said, gosh, I don't know if I can stay up that late. Well, my son my 21-year-old wanted to go. So we went and we were out till 1 a.m. Oh my God. I was exhausted for 3 days after that. So
right. Yeah. New Year's Eve is not how it used to be for me. That's for sure.
Oh gosh, no.
How do you define the word fit?
I feel like fit for me would be being able to do the things I want to do. If I want to go for a run, I want to be able to go out the door and run. Or if I want to go water skiing, the stuff that I do during the year, like the CrossFit, makes it easy for me to still have the ability to get up out of the water on one ski and stay up and slalom and do all the fun parts of it. So I guess for me, being fit means being able to do what I love, which is move.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about too is the book reviews that you do on your blog. And, do you have like a favorite book from all those different running books that you've reviewed? And if so, which one is that? Or is it always the current one that you're working on as your favorite?
Oh gosh, I loved Catherine Switzer's Marathon Woman. That was, and Dina Castor's new book too. Those are my two favorites. But I wasn't going to read Catherine Switzer's book, but then, oh my gosh, I got to meet her. So, and they interviewed me. It was with the Rock and Roll Chicago Half Marathon 2 years ago. Humana contacted me and they said, we're trying to promote aging. We've, healthy aging and staying active. And we've got Catherine Switzer and we want to interview you talking to her. It was like amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then they filmed me running the race, and then she put my medal over my head at the finish line. I mean, swoon, I thought I was going to die.
Oh, my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, so anyways, I had read her book before, and I was amazed at all that she's done for women in running. She is amazing.
Yes, she is.
And that book was really good. And so I brought it with me. I'm like a total fangirl. I'm like, can you sign my book?
Yeah. We got to meet Dina Castor when she came.
Jealous.
Yeah, she was the ambassador at the Akron Half Marathon this past fall, and she has an awesome book. Her attitude is incredible, and just the way she thinks about things. She's amazing too.
She is amazing, and occasionally when a author's releasing a book, I'll reach out to them and tell them, I have a blog. Would they be able to send me a copy? And she sent me a copy.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
She was at the expo at the Akron Marathon, and she was so gracious to everyone, and she was so good at putting people at their ease, because we're not all the world's most extroverted person, and she just would talk to people, and she was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to meet her. I mean, it was great because I saw Catherine Switzer again last summer at the Rock and Roll Expo, and she remembered me.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and here's me. I can barely put two words together because I'm just in awe of her. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're the one with RA. I remember you from last year. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand it. But I would like to meet Dina too, because I think she's just amazing.
So you referred to, even when you were talking about the clothing, about being an ambassador, that you do ambassador for products. Can you tell us what that means? And
well, you represent the company, and in doing so, you're promoting their brand. And, when I first started blogging, that was the thing. I wanted to be an ambassador. I didn't even care if it was for nail polish. But after a while, I realized, I needed to be more choosy. As my blog grew and got more popular, I wanted to represent good companies. And so, Ink and Burn is, they're just fabulous, and they treat their ambassadors really well. You don't get free product, but you get a substantial discount, and they're really wonderful to work with. And so by wearing their clothes, I tag them in all my social media posts, and they are growing like crazy. So right now I'm an ambassador for a local race promoter called All Community Events, and they put on a lot of races in the Chicago area. They're actually all over the country, but I'm just with the Chicago group, and you get free race entries with that. And they want us to wear their singlets at the race, which I'm kind of like, but I can wear it with my skirts, so that'll be okay. It's nice. They give you perks, and then you promote them. And, I was an ambassador for the rock and roll races for a couple of years. That was nice. Momentum, the wraps, with the mantras on them and things. I like that company too.
Switching gears a little bit, do you have any healthy eating tips that you'd be willing to share with our listeners?
Well, I have really changed my diet since being diagnosed with RA. When I was first diagnosed with RA, all these people, from the internet reached out, and they're like, oh, you don't need meds. You can just fix it with food. But we all know that's not true. But I do believe that changing my diet and eating foods that are anti-inflammatory have really helped. And so I've given up a lot, like my morning cereal. I don't eat cereal anymore. I don't really drink much milk. Instead, I make morning smoothies with fresh fruits, frozen fruits, and protein powder. I eat a lot more protein because, older people need more protein. Yeah, I'm just really working on trying to get more fruits and vegetables into my diet, and I think I've been pretty successful with that. I don't eat beef anymore because that's really inflammatory. I'm not going to lie, I miss some of these foods, but I just know if I eat them, I'm going to feel really bad. So I just don't.
On any given day, so for breakfast you would have the smoothie?
Yeah.
Then what else might you eat that day?
For breakfast I'd have a smoothie, and then for lunch sometimes I'll have like a salad, like with chicken or something on it. If we have leftovers from whatever we had for dinner, I'll bring that sometimes too. I don't really like to order out a lot. My husband does, so that's kind of a point of contention between us. But I make a lot of stir fries because that you can make that healthy and put a lot of vegetables and things like that. And so we'll have that for dinner.
Well, I think this means we have made it to the lightning round.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're there.
The lightning round is basically we have a series of quick, short questions, and you can give a quick, short answer, or you can expand on it. Your answer doesn't have to be short. Some people will say both or neither or whatever. So there's no right or wrong on all of this. Are you ready?
I am.
You're ready, Chris?
Yes, I am.
Okay. First question. Zumba or Pilates?
Oh, Pilates. I could never do Zumba. I can't dance.
Okay. Bike or run or swim?
Run.
I thought that was what you'd say.
Broccoli or cauliflower?
Broccoli.
Vegan or paleo?
Paleo.
Okay.
I couldn't be vegan. I couldn't give up cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love bacon.
You don't feel like bacon's inflammatory? Because when you were talking about beef, I was thinking, oh yeah, bacon gets me.
Oh, I'm sure it is. And I don't eat it very often, but, sprinkled on top of a salad or, we just had potato soup and, yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, there's a place near here where they sell farm bacon from the local.
The Applewood smoked bacon.
Yeah, just the smell of bacon gets me.
Yeah.
Okay, gym or park?
Park.
Yeah. Eggs or oatmeal?
Oh, that's a tough one. I love them both. But you know what? I eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of omelets for lunch, so eggs.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that does help with the protein.
Yes.
Treadmill or Stairmaster or elliptical?
Treadmill.
Wine or beer?
Ooh.
I know.
I'm married to a home brewer.
Oh, nice.
I like both. Do I have to pick?
No.
No, you don't have to.
So my motto is that life's too short to drink bad beer or bad wine. So
thank you. I say that about the beer all the time.
Oh gosh, yes. That one I can't pick.
Okay. But whatever it is, it's going to be good.
Absolutely. Or I won't drink.
Kettlebell or dumbbell?
Boy, that's another tough one. Probably dumbbells because I feel like I can do more with them.
Okay.
All right. Quinoa or rice?
Quinoa.
Because of the protein?
Yeah, it's healthier. I mean, rice is I guess quinoa would be considered a carb too, but it's, low glycemic, so I think it's a little easier, easier on the body.
Yeah, it's actually a seed, so it
is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I love it, and I make salads with that for lunch.
Oh,
Yum.
Yeah.
Well, it has protein in it, and I don't know that rice does.
No.
Rice, you have to do rice and beans to get the protein.
Right.
Right, and I like brown rice, but I still would pick quinoa.
Yep.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay, and I'm going to ask, do you put butter in your coffee?
No, I put half and half in my coffee.
Okay.
I don't get the whole butter thing. Do you guys put butter in your coffee?
I normally just put half and half. I have tried the butter and coconut oil, and it actually, as long as you have a good blender, you have to blend it so that it really gets mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rich because there's a lot of fat in it, so it has a really sort of silky feel in your mouth. But to my mind, it's kind of a lot of work just to have a cup of coffee.
Thank you.
And then there's a lot, so independent of everything else, there's a lot of calories in one cup. So you pretty much, if you're going to drink that, you can only have one cup. So I tend to have more than one cup of coffee a day. So
You and me both. And I want it like a minute ago, so I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, I drink coffee black, so,
that's probably the best.
Yeah, it can be a little tough on the stomach sometimes. So here's a question for you. Bread, yes or no?
I can't say no, but rarely.
Yeah.
And it has to be like whole grain, multi-grain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm really trying to stay away from the white carbs because I can really feel it when now that I don't eat that stuff anymore. It's it's like a drug. You feel it like sugar, you feel it.
So do you think that making the diet changes, I know you said obviously it doesn't take care of everything, but do you feel it has improved your health?
Absolutely. It's just amazing how much more energy I have. And, it's sad that it took getting a chronic illness to get me to this point. But, I'm glad it did because, I feel so much better. I still have, the flares and stuff of my disease, but overall, my doctor says I'm doing really, really well. So, and I feel like I am too.
Yeah, that's great.
If you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
I would tell myself to start working out.
Yeah.
And because I did not exercise before then.
So before we go, how can people find you online?
My blog is at www.takinglongwayhome.com. It's not Taking the Long Way Home. That wasn't available. So it's takinglongwayhome.com. I'm on Instagram. It's Wendy is Taking the Long Way Home. Those are my two places that I like to be found.
That's great. Well, really appreciate all your time and sharing all this information with the listeners from our group. And really, I loved hearing all your answers to things.
I'm feeling a little inspired here to go do something today.
You guys are too nice, but thank you. I'm flattered again that you wanted to interview me. It's wonderful.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
We certainly appreciate you talking with us. So
thank you, and we'll probably talk to you again. So until then, goodbye.
Stay warm.
Yeah, you too. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That inspires me to get back into my running routine.
Yeah. And she's absolutely right about that you don't have to run every day of the week, that doing the cross training, getting your heart rate up, like in your workout and all that is just as much a part of training as the actual running.
And I think it strengthens your tendons and your ligaments and, keeps your muscles kind of not getting the repetitive injuries of only running.
Right.
Well, even, like all that biking that I do, it doesn't bother my Achilles at all, but it really helps me with my running. It's just kind of a different motion. I liked talking with her.
Wendy said she basically tries to stay half marathon ready, and that seems like a great idea, but I'm certainly not there. And I know I'm not 10K, which is 6 miles, right? I'm not ready for that. But I did run a 5K yesterday, the Hop for Hope, which is a race. It's a local race that I've run several times. It's fun, and it's 5K, and it's pretty much a flat course, though not completely flat, as I found out. I was like, I forgot about these hills. But what I was really pleased about is, I've been doing my Couch to 5K app, and I have not gotten to actually running a full half hour on that or 3 miles. So, but I thought, well, I'll just do this and then I'll go back to my 5, this will be like a push train day or whatever. But I made it and I actually felt fine.
Great. That's great.
I noticed my heart rate was higher than normal. I was obviously pushing myself, but I didn't push myself beyond into an extreme state, if that makes sense. My heart rate was higher than usual, but not like dangerously high.
Yeah. And the weather was really nice too, wasn't it?
Oh, it was beautiful. So it's April in Ohio, and last year, I looked at pictures last year, I was all bundled up. It was below freezing. There was some snow on the ground when I got up to go to the race last year. This year, it was probably about 50 degrees, and sunny and just lovely. It was wonderful.
Well, I saw a picture of you on your Instagram with the Easter Bunny, and you looked very happy and very fit. It was just it was fun to see you back in the running game again.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I thought, I have been grumbling, well, maybe I just can't be a runner, but, it is fun to do the races. I don't know if I will ever be a half marathon ready person, but I do enjoy it, so I don't want to just abandon it.
Well, I have to say, I really admire Wendy for sticking to all of this, and it seems to me that she is ready for a half marathon just about at the drop of a hat, depending on the weather and how she's feeling that week. But, she really does a lot of training, a lot of cross training, whether it's yoga or the CrossFit, the lifting weights. I really admire her for sticking to it.
Yeah, I do too. That's impressive. That her basic run is a 6 to 7 mile run I would like to be back to doing that on a regular basis. I don't even know if I've ever been there on a regular basis, but that's not a bad goal because it's actually a decent distance to run.
Yes. Well, I also, before we go, I wanted to do a shout out to one of our listeners. During your triathlon a few weeks ago, I got to meet Melissa in person, and it was really fun to talk with someone who obviously has been listening to the podcast for quite a while and knows us through the microphone per se. And so it's kind of a cool thing. Hello, Melissa. If you're listening, another shout out to you. Thanks for the discussion. It's always nice to put a face to hearing, to a listener.
Well, so you got to put a face to a name and she got to put a face to a voice.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that was kind of cool.
It was very cool. Yeah. Well, my veggie challenge continues to inspire me. And I made some beets yesterday with using the greens from the top of the beets and the actual beets. I roasted them. I'll probably post something about it. I forgot to take pictures, but they were so delicious. And you know what? I have to say, beets are so sweet. It's like eating candy. And I don't know that I haven't looked up the nutritional value of those beets, but I have to say they were way too yummy to be healthy.
So somebody in our Facebook group was telling us about how wonderful the greens are from beets.
Oh, they were great. Oh my gosh. I added kidney beans to the greens, cooked it with just a little bit of coconut oil, and it was delicious. And I never in a million years would have done the greens of beets, the tops.
Right.
It's a little bit different, and it was very delicious.
So do you normally eat beets? Do you like beets?
Well, I've had canned beets, my whole life, and I like them pretty well, but it's usually, canned beets that just have juice and stuff, and they're kind of like one of those, like peas,
right,
standard.
Right. Yeah.
But the beets they were from the farmer's market. My husband went up to the farmer's market in Cleveland and picked them up, just 6 of them with their greens on them. And they're very hard, like a turnip when you get them. So I boiled them first so I could cut them decently. And then I just sliced them into pieces and put a little olive oil and roasted them for almost an hour in the oven. And they were delicious.
Oh, that sounds good. So I'm not a big, my mother loved beets and she used to make them a lot. And
oh, really?
I just was not canned beets. She would buy real beets or, fresh beets, I guess you would call them.
Yeah, real beets. I guess they're all real, but.
But I never liked them, so I'm not really eating them as an adult, but everyone says how good they are, so I will try them occasionally. And I have found, like, if I go to a restaurant and they'll have roasted beets on a salad, I will eat that. And I had smoked beets. Well, I think that was one of my entries on the Veggie Challenge, that I had smoked beets from Whole Foods, and they were delicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you smoke them, but they were good.
I think that's part of the whole vegetable challenge thing is how you prepare your vegetables. And, if you just steam things or you just take them out of the can and microwave, they're just not that great. But I don't know.
Yeah, because then you end up like having to, so what did I always do for years is steam them throw them in the microwave and then slather butter all over them.
Right. Right.
And eat them. Well, they did taste okay because, what doesn't taste good with butter slathered all over it.
Right.
But,
yeah, but that's not really the point, is it?
No,
anyway,
right. Yeah.
That's my veggie challenge. I shouldn't have blown it by telling it before it's even posted, but by the time this podcast comes out, I'm going to try to have it up on the website so you can see my little recipe there.
Okay, good. So last week I posted about the watercress, and I'll tell you what, you read about all the nutrients in watercress.
Yes.
And there's like no calories in this thing. It was, you could eat buckets full of it if you wanted. But it's really, it was actually a pretty decent, it was a nice addition to a salad. And they used to make watercress sandwiches with cucumbers. Right. Those were like remember the old tea sandwiches,
yes.
Watercress sandwiches. Maybe I should try and do that sometime. That might be fun. Right. But it was just like reading about it was, wow, these things we could just eat bunches of this.
Well, I think the greens are one of the secret pieces of vegetables here that they're underestimated, but tremendous amount of minerals, vitamins, and nutrition.
Yeah. And I'm noticing that if you shake up what greens you use, you get a little different nutritional composition from them.
Yeah. It's great. All right. Well, I hope our listeners will tune in again next time with our next podcast because we're having a ball putting these together.
Yes, we are, and I hope you're enjoying it too. And if you are, tell a friend, share the news about us, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.